The NFL just had breaking news, with that being that Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers effectively helped change a rule. Let me explain. The NFL just approved a rule that each team is going to be able to carry 3 active quarterbacks, with the third quarterback not counting towards really the roster room. Therefore, the NFL hopes to never have the NFC Championship game happen again. In the NFC Championship game, the 49ers starting quarterback, who really was their third string quarterback, tore his UCL, so their backup, Josh Johnson, had to go in, but he also was knocked out of the game, so their injured quarterback, Brock Purdy, had to go back in and try to operate as effectively as they could have. I think this is great because this allows the NFL to never have the NFC Championship game happen again, or make it extremely unlikely that the NFC Championship game would get out of hand, and the product on the field just wasn't good. The NFL wants to avoid this at all costs because ultimately the product on the field is what affects their bottom line. So having some product where the quarterback gets thrown out of the game and the team has to finish with only 10 players doesn't make a whole lot of sense. This reminds me a lot of the rule about stopping players from tackling the quarterbacks low, and that usually draws a flag. That was caused by Tom Brady, and his whole entire season was ruined due to a player going towards his knees. And while the NFL didn't implement something towards no longer grabbing quarterbacks' arms when they're throwing, I think this rule is going to help the NFL kind of skirt around the NFC Championship problems they experience. While I think this is a step in the right direction, there's also been many fans who've been advocating that the quarterback's arm shouldn't be tackled when he's throwing. I mean, it's similar to the knee argument of how this is your most valuable position, and if these quarterbacks get hurt, it really ruins a team's whole entire season in most cases. I mean, Niners are one of the few teams who can go through 3 quarterbacks and still be a viable playoff candidate. And while I think it would be amazing if you were able to take all the injuries out of football, at a certain point, it's nearly impossible to stop a player from getting injured. I mean, I think it wouldn't be fair if a defensive player wouldn't be able to touch the quarterback's arm when he was throwing. That would get rid of a huge aspect of the game, of those strip fumbles, and it would just really take away from the game. And even though Brock Purdy is a Niner, and it sucked to see him go down, especially in the NFC Championship game, I'm personally not a fan of changing the rules of how a quarterback can get tackled, because frankly, it's a little bit absurd the way it is right now. While this is great news for Niners fans, there's even better news with OTAs starting today, and the media availability is tomorrow. So there'll be videos of Trey Lance throwing, and you'll get a better understanding of where the team stands as of now. And while I am undoubtedly excited to see Sam Darnold and Trey Lance competing for that quarterback role, I'm also excited to see how Brock Purdy is rehabbing. In early June, he is expected to start throwing, so that's something to keep an eye out for Niners fans as well.